Law of the bedroom, number 72. To live together while dating or not? That is the question, isn't it? What's the best answer? Well, it depends. I know that's not really an answer, but here it goes. Realistically, it's only best to live together if you have plans to marry the other person and have set an actual date to be married. Wow, that's not really the answer you might have been looking for, right? Well, consider the following. And all of this is such good information. I hope it helps you really well. And if it does, or you have comments, put it in the comments section below. Let me hear what you have to say. But here are some realities. If you've never lived with someone before like this, in this situation, guys, if you've never lived with a lady before, living together never proves to the two of you in a relationship whether you have what it takes to be married, per se. Marriage is based on a maturity and a relationship of a lifelong commitment between two people attached and attracted to each other out of the deepest love and devotion for one another and the desire to spend the rest of your life with that other person, thick or thin, till death do you part, in sickness and in health. So you marry and then you move in together. Wow, talk about happiness ever after. But that's the thing. Living together is kind of reserved for that lifelong commitment. Because until you make that commitment, as in, we've dated, we lived separately, I want to marry you, I want you in my life. You've been over to my house 12 million times. You've stayed at my house for 12 million times. It's as if you've lived here, but you didn't. You had your own place. But I can see now, having your own place and me with my own place, basically, we already get along. We're making money together. We don't argue. I don't want to be with anybody else. I found my life mate. We need to move in together because, well, we're paying 2 rents or 2 mortgages, and that's not financially sound. So let me put a ring on that finger. Let me commit to you for a lifetime, and we will move in together. Okay, that's like the number one thing. That's how it kind of works. Now, ladies, hearing this material, know this while dating. Your man either loves you or he doesn't. Playing house together won't make him love you for the long haul anymore or even want to marry you per se. It might, it can, but there's no guarantee, so you can't count on it. In fact, not living with him can make him want to marry you more because he's not seeing enough of you and wants you close to him for life. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. Remember? My advice would be for you not to move in with your man if you both have not discussed marriage yet, or he has no intentions on marrying you. Men don't take advantage of a woman either for the sake of the conveniences of what marriage brings without the responsibilities or the commitment of marriage. And I'll give you a quick story. I was walking this one gal to her car, because it was dark, and I gave her Laws of the Bedroom. And she says, "Oh, I'm excited to share it with my boyfriend." I said, "Oh, do you live with him?" "Oh, yeah. Yeah, we've been living together for about 3 months now." "Oh," and I knew she was about 30. "Oh, have you lived with previous boyfriends before?" "Yeah, I've lived with all my boyfriends." "Oh, that's interesting. When is one of those boyfriends going to put a ring on that finger and stop, breaking up with you, hence you have to leave and go find somebody? You're hop skipping between these residences that you're sharing with these boyfriends. And I have in the book that I wrote, Watch Out Ladies, there's a chapter, and it's kind of like, I forgot what it's called, pardon me, something about too much sex, too many men, and no ring on that finger. Something like that. It's like the first or the second chapter, where you're having all this sex, you're dating these guys, maybe you're living with them, but you're not getting a ring on that finger. And guys, don't do that to a woman per se. Don't string her along for your personal needs. Don't waste her years either. That's another thing. I see men and women cohabitating in their 20s, and I get it. I did it. But the thing that I realized, and why I don't do it anymore per se, is that if you're not going to be married, and granted, it's actually kind of cool to live with your girlfriend, and to do all those things. It's a lot of fun. I'm not going to knock it. But here's the thing. Because there's no commitment to marriage, The guy could break it off at any time, and the gal could break it off at any time too. If they live together for 3 to 5 years and then they break up, for whatever reason, it's easy to break up when you're not married. It's hard to break up when you're married. If you break up when you're 26 and you go live with someone until you're 29, then you break up, and then you go live with someone. The point is you have spent those years not looking for a committed long-term lifetime relationship, but instead you've kind of squandered those years on these in and out relationships. And those were actually some good numbers there, living with someone for quite a few years. But in most cases, relationships don't last longer than 3 months or 3 days or 3 weeks or 3 hours, So anyhow, So when considering cohabitation together and you're both not married, men should know that women are at a greater risk for, serious ongoing responsibilities. Think child, read between the lines on that one. The point is you're cohabitating, you're not married, she gets pregnant because you're having a lot of sex. The opportunities for sex are more abound, more plentiful. What's going to happen there? And then she gets pregnant. Gents, are you going to marry her? You should. And remember what I said, you should never have sex with anyone really that you're not in love with, or that you wouldn't mind, if I got you pregnant, I wouldn't mind marrying you. Because we get along really well. And how do you know? Because you didn't have sex for the first month or so until waiting to get to know them. And I know you might have sex because sex is hot, sex is good, sex is, it's fun. But you got to be mindful about that whole pregnancy thing. So just living together isn't the same as committing yourselves to each other for a lifetime of marriage. For better or worse, in sickness or in health, in sadness and in joy, to love and to cherish, till death do you part. Without that commitment in place, if just one thing goes wrong in the relationship, either one of you could be looking at the door and facing the surprise heart attack of a breakup while living together. Why is that? Well, living together without that contract of marriage, the lifelong commitment between two hearts, opens the door for that age-old dating excuse. Well, this just isn't working out. It's really me, not you, so either you or I have to go. Now, what if things don't work out and the two of you unfortunately have to break up while living together? What happens then? Wow, get ready for double trouble. Because if you thought breaking up was hard to do, try living with someone and then breaking up. Rental agreements, utility bills. Hey, you owe me money. No, I don't. Get out. Yikes. Where do two people living together who want to break up go to get away from the other person? The living room? The kitchen? They can't. They're both stuck under the same roof, living together while they're breaking up. Here's where sleepless nights come in and the hard times break loose. Usually when two people break up, it's pretty emotional. It's a rare occasion when two people can part amicably and without spite. Typically, these two can't stand one another at this point and would just rather disappear out of each other's lives with as little in their way to do as possible. But you chose to live together. Now you have bills to pay and the names to be removed off rental agreements and utility bills and the like. Who's going to trust whom to pay the bills and sign release papers in time for the new roommate? Then there's this stuff and her stuff and whose stuff is that? And, well, that's mine. Well, that stays. What goes? It can really be a nightmare. And oftentimes it is, sad but true. And again, it's all because it's easier to break up when you're just dating. It's harder to break up when you're married. Now, the breakups when you're married, those are hard. So, we all want to be mindful about who we're pairing up with. So the most realistic advice would be to live separately while you date and develop your relationship over time while living separately. Sure, you can sleep over, stay late, spend the weekend, your place or hers. Just don't move in together. At least not yet. Save that moment in time as a gift for committing to the one you love and wish to spend your life with. Remember, guys, the more you keep yourself apart from her, the more you'll want her, and the same is true for her. You both want to grow and nurture your desire for one another, so the greater your chances that one day you'll ask her to marry you. Gee, see how simple that works? Absence makes the heart grow fonder, every time. So save yourself from the heartache and the trouble. Live separately from your gal until you're both ready to make that kind of real lifelong commitment. And it's a pretty simple philosophy. But what if you need a roommate and you need to share the rent with someone? Well, what's that? Your girlfriend or you is looking for a roommate too? Why not move in together? It makes sense, doesn't it? Well, then here's what you might do. Because actually, I was in this situation once and I made it work out. In fact, I was in this situation a couple times and I always made it work out. Check this out. If you're going to move in together and you're just dating, you need to get a 2-bedroom unit. Not a 1-bedroom, but 2 bedrooms. And you need to live like roommates. Also, consider having just one person take responsibility for the bills. Or you can break it up 50-50. Hey, I'll have the power in my name. You can have the internet and the cable in your name. And usually the water or the gas is pretty cheap. And typically, this goes to the person who makes the most money, of course, who was living in the unit first, if that was the case. You might also split the bills up, place your name, like I just said, in half the bills and in hers the other half. It's just a thought. Anyhow, it goes without saying, just don't move in with someone into a 1-bedroom because you're fond of her while you're dating. Review the other person's rental history. Who's moving in? Just because, you guys are dating and you're in love doesn't mean that one of those people is going to pay the bills on time or pay their fair share of rent. Remember what I said. Trust no one, suspect everyone, and be on the lookout. Because many times in the dating world, and this goes both ways, man or woman, someone will latch onto the other and try to mooch off the other. Oh, I need some money this month. Can you help me do this? Can you help me pay this? This has been like a repeated episode for like the last 7 months. I've been paying your car bill for the last 7 months. When are you going to start paying your own bill? So you need to be careful. And if you ever moved in together, a lot of that stuff gets locked in and now you're stuck with that person. So, just because you are in love doesn't mean people pay their bills on time. In fact, some people like to take advantage of the other person in situations like this. Yeah. Do you smell BS? You love me, don't you? Can I borrow some money? Will you pay my share of the rent for just 1 month? I promise to get a job next month. I love you. Not. If you're just dating, you have a strict obligation to protect your personal credit history with your landlord and the utility companies. What's the old saying? Trust no one, suspect everyone. Where have I heard that before? Where have you heard that before? Sad but true. Unless there's a solid commitment involved, like marriage, and you've kind of vetted the other person with their finances and their income and their job, and you've asked them just a ton of questions, trust no one, suspect everyone. Living together as described just now that you've heard, if that's what you really choose to do while dating, should at least help guard against the unthinkable, separation on the books. With just one person's name on all the bills, the other person can slip out easily and with little communication to the remaining party to avoid headache and any after-the-fact communications. Protect the two of you and your hearts. Live separately while you date. Move in when you plan to get married. Pretty simple. That's life. And the whole concept of getting a 2-bedroom while you're dating instead of a 1-bedroom is that if one of you has to move out, you can find a roommate to fill that bedroom and they can pay the rent. Because typically I think you're both splitting the rent. Let's say the rent's $2,000 a month and you're each paying $1,000 a month, but then you break up, one moves out, and a new roommate comes in and pays the rent. Life goes on. Yes. I have always lived in a 2-bedroom or more unit when I was dating and living with the girlfriend at that time. I found that to be very smart because when you're dating, things happen. You move. Things happen. You just don't know what causes breakups for whatever reason. And if you're in a 2-bedroom or more situation, they can move out, someone can move in, and you're okay. You still got a roof over your head. Anyhow, I hope this was insightful and enlightening about to live together while dating or not. And I'm sure there are other reasons, pros and cons for doing it or not doing it, not living together. But you be the judge. It's your life. And hey, I'm not going to say boo about it because I have lived with my girlfriends in the past and we had great times. And when it was time to move out because we broke up or something, well, one of us was able to move out and we were able to get a roommate to fill the shoes, or the lease was on a month to month. We were both able to move out. And I remember in one situation, we moved out. We broke up, but we moved out. And I helped her move like 5 times. We still remained friends. And I hope she's doing well these days. That was like a long time ago. But anyhow, good times. Oh, where's that time machine that we can buy and go back in time? Anyhow, I'll see you in the last law of the bedroom inside this chapter called Warnings, Safeguards, and Precautions. Number 73. Law of the bedroom number 73. Stop looking at and flirting in public with other women. We'll get into it, and then we will enter the next chapter, chapter 4, romancing her like she's never been romanced before. What a great chapter. Guys, the gal in your life is going to melt right in your hands, right in your arms, and just want to climb all over you when you start romancing her like she's never been romanced before based on what you hear in this chapter 4 of Laws of the Bedroom. Come on, let's get going right now. Let's finish up this chapter, Warnings, Safeguards, and Precautions, and let's get right to the romance chapter. That's the beginning of the good stuff of this. This whole book is filled with good stuff, but what you've been learning has been more personally applicable to your being, your own self. This stuff going forward is stuff we're going to do to her, for her, on her, with her. Oh my God, there's so many things we're going to do with her. Okay, let's get going. I gotta go. All right.